let's address the Cosmopolitan. I think it would be remiss of me not to talk about this with you whilst you're on the podcast, but
I just was thinking, what else are we going to talk?
Yeah. I don't want to labor it too much because I guess it's probably a story that you've told 100 times.
It is.
I was quite surprised. I didn't realize there'd been so much sort of dispute over the originator of this drink. I don't know. Obviously, I drunk the Cecchini Kool-Aid, and just as far as I knew it, you invented this drink, and I know the name already existed, but it was a different cocktail and that kind of thing. But I didn't realize there were people kind of rising up out of the woodwork.
All over the place. So this is, I mean, it's sort of a funny trajectory because I'm trying to figure out whether I should go address that and then go back.
No. Let's go back to the Odeon and the original Cosmopolitan cocktail, which was it from San Francisco?
Was from San Francisco. Yeah. So I was tending bar at the Odeon in 1988. I had come from a few years in France directly to New York, and I got a job there, and then I fairly quickly moved from the floor to the bar. And so in 88, I was working behind the bar and with a woman named Melissa Huffsmith, and she had friends from San Francisco that she had gone out with the night prior. I worked with her on Saturday nights. Or was it Friday? I can't remember. We had a very busy weekend night together. She was like, and I was just out with a bunch of friends of mine from San Francisco who are bartenders, and there's this drink that's been been kind of in leather bars there for a while. And it's called the Cosmopolitan. They showed it to me. You want to see it? And I was like, yeah, sure. And she took, rail vodka and Rose's lime juice and Rose's grenadine and put them in some measure and shook it up and put it into a V-shaped martini glass, which was the martini glass at the time. And then put a twist of lemon in it. And I was like, that's wild. That's like nothing I've ever seen. I'd never seen anything in a martini glass that wasn't a martini. And I was like, whoa, you can do that? That's crazy. And I was like, that's really cute. It's like wild. It sort of looked like what a Negroni looks like now, a little greener. And then I tasted it and I was like, that's disgusting. Like, that is just so gross. She's like, yeah, it's not good. So I was like, oh, well, whatever. But it stayed in my mind. And so that night, as I was making drinks for the waitresses, which is what you did every single night, you're just like, okay, let's make some drinks. Our shift is kind of finishing. I was like, I can do better than that. I can make that drink, but I can make it better. And
had you come up with cocktails before?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was only maybe less than a year into bartending. I started in 87 bartending. So I was less than a year bartending, but of course, that's what we do every night. You're just like throwing things together, particularly back then. It was like pre-Renaissance. It was like...
But anything you'd named or renamed or that had sort of stuck in your mind or that you were remaking, or was it more just a la minute, bang?
No, I was pretty new. I was just a few months in, so I was trying to get down the old fashioned and the daiquiri and this and that. I was just trying to get the classics down enough to be of service at the Odeon. But we, unusually at the time, made our margaritas with fresh lime juice and Cointreau at the assistance of Keith McNally, who was the owner at the time. And so that's the only way I knew how to make a margarita. I didn't know from the gun with the soda mix that everybody else was doing. And so that was the way we made our sours. That's the way we made our, sidecars were with lemon juice. We had fresh juices that the kitchen furnished us. And at the time, in the late 80s, that was somewhat unusual.
Yeah.
And so we were a bit ahead of the curve there. And so I thought, this is just a sour, really. I can just remake this as a sour, sort of on the template of a margarita. So I'm going to use fresh lime and Cointreau. I don't want to use Rose's grenadine because it's just gross, sugar water. So we had Ocean Spray Cranberry Juice cocktail at hand to make Cape Codders. So I was like, well, that'll give me the red without sort of like impinging
just
too much on the drink. So it's like a few glugs of that. And then what's going to be the base? And Absolut had come out with Citron several months prior, just a few months prior. And when it came out, it was kind of hilarious because...
Was that the first modern flavored vodka?
Actually, they maintained that Pepper was out in like 86.
Right.
I hadn't remembered that, or I hadn't been aware of it.
That's interesting. I would have thought that came after.
But yeah. So 88 was when they came out with Citron, and that was the first that I'd heard of it. And we were just like, dude, check this out. The flavor is inside the vodka. We were just like, no way. Like, it was mind blowing to us. We were just like, that is the coolest thing ever. And then we were like, let's do all kinds of stuff with it. And we didn't have any idea what we were talking about. We're like, let's make like martinis with it. And then we were like, that's not very good, is it? Okay, never mind. Let's do, I mean, we were just messing with it for months. We were like, that should be good, right? But it's, okay, let's do like lemon drops with it because it's lemon, right? Like we kind of couldn't figure out what to do with it.
Yeah.
So I was like, I know, I'll use that stuff that I'm really excited about, but can't quite make work in any particular way. I'll use Absolute Citron. And so it was just very simple, 2, 1, 1, 1. That was my spec. 2 ounces of citron, 1 ounce Cointreau, 1 ounce fresh lime juice, 1 ounce cranberry juice cocktail. And so, you know, shaken hard in that martini glass, and I kept the lemon twist. And, you know, I remember pouring it out for Thais and a couple of the waitresses that night, and they were like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I was like, oh, good, great. I mean, that's cool. I mean, I knew I could make that better. And they're like, no, we love this. Like so they wanted it every night. They just wanted it night after night after night. And so it became our sort of de facto sort of staff drink there for a while, for weeks. And I was like, okay, we're kind of done with that drink now. And they're like, no.
Little did you know.
Yeah. And so there was this very bizarre moment where then one of the artists who was a super regular at the Odeon came up and he was like, yeah, I want that Cosmopolitan. And I was like, wait, how do you know about the Cosmo? That's our staff drink. And he's like, yeah, no, Thais told me about it. I'm like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. And so then there was another level of strange when somebody I didn't know came up and ordered it. I'm like, wait, who are you? How do you know about, that's our kind of private drink. It's like, oh, Donald Sultan told me about it. I'm like, I see, we're playing telephone here. Yeah, yeah. And then yet another level when I went up the street to El Teddy's on further up West Broadway, and I saw them shaking this drink that kind of looked like a Negroni, and they're like, this is a Cosmopolitan. I'm like, wait, what? How do you know about that drink? And they're like, there's some guy down at the Odeon making it. I'm like, yeah, that's me. That's not my drink. Like, that doesn't look right. You know, like, and so then suddenly it was out.
You got to see this cocktail disseminate out there.
Exodus. It was
like you're witnessing a cocktail become a classic. Like,
it was crazy how it suddenly was within months everywhere in downtown New York. And then within a year and a half, it was like the thing that ate us alive. And it was like being chained to a boot blacking machine where like on Friday, Saturday nights working the bar, I was making 250 of these things. It's like nobody was drinking anything else. So like by 1990, you were just like, God, let it stop. This is horrifying. And that's when people were like, wait a minute. I heard you're the dick who made that drink up. And I was like, no, not even. I don't even know that drink. Like, no, my friend Thais told me that you're the guy. I'm like, oh, look, I mean, like, it's a drink I made up for the waitresses. I didn't.
Do you think this opened the doors to other contenders for the creator of the drink because you were publicly denying involvement
for years? I was just like, I just didn't want any part of it.
Yeah.
But so then, like all things in New York, it died a very sudden death. It was like, it was in vogue. And then suddenly over a course of just a few months, it was like, whoosh, that was so 1990. Like by 92, you were getting 6 Cosmos a night. And it was like, okay, good. Like, we're done with that. And then suddenly 10 years later, there was just this insane moment where everybody was ordering Cosmos again. I'm like, wait, it's like this thing has risen from the tomb. What's going on?
Yeah.
And I didn't have a TV. So people were like, oh, don't you know there's this show where like these chicks are drinking your drink like constantly. And that was Sex and the City. And, you know, to this day, I've never seen an episode of Sex and the City, but.
Yeah, you're not missing much.
But, you know, it was literally 10 years later when the rest of the world discovered the Cosmopolitan and it like launched it into the stratosphere. And now it was a whole thing.
I started bartending in 2001 and it was on the first cocktail menu that I worked under. well, actually, I'd been bartending before, but in pubs, but cocktail bartending in 2001.
Right.
And it was there right from the start. So I don't know. I mean, I couldn't comment because I wasn't even legal drinking age in the mid 90s. I guess it wasn't around in the UK, but certainly as a drinking age adult, I don't remember a time it wasn't there.
Right. So yeah, I mean, then with the cocktail rent, you know, I always called it my albatross. It's like, it's the albatross around my neck. It's like, you're that guy who invented that fucking drink, curses on you and all your progeny. But I'm like, look, you know, whatever. It's a drink I made up when I was 25 and just starting bartending for the waitresses at the Odeon. I didn't envision all this. But then, and I would deny and deny it. And then the cocktail renaissance came and all of these pikers came out of the woods and were like, oh, thank you for popularizing the drink that I, in fact, invented in Athens, Georgia in 1982, or the drink that I invented in Miami and whatever, or the drink that I invented in Georgia and whatever. I'm like, who are these insane people? Like, suddenly I realized, like, oh, this drink now is part of the lexicon. And so everybody wants to be a part of history, right? And so all these people are just laying claim to them. I'm like, wait a minute. This drink is the albatross around my neck, but it is my albatross. Like, I did invent
It's mine
this
to
drink. Like,
own, yeah.
These people, you know, so then I had to start fessing up. And so eventually I was approached by Absolute. And Miranda Dixon at the time was the sort of head of Absolute worldwide for creative. And she approached me and she was like, so there are all these different people who lay claim to having invented the Cosmopolitan. I'm like, so I'm becoming aware. And she's like, well, so we want to find out who really is at the base of this, so that we want to find out who used our product to put this drink together. And so would you mind, we're sending a reporter from England. We're going to have him interview everybody who claims that they invented the Cosmopolitan throughout the country and let the chips fall where they may. Would you be willing to talk to him? I said, sure. So you have to be very specific with times and dates and what happened and blah, blah, blah. So I told them the whole story. And they came back a couple months later and they said, well, congratulations. You're the only person whose story actually held together with the facts of the release of Absolute Citron and blah, blah, blah.
And corroborating evidence from the girls that were around who you were serving it to every single night.
Right. The people who were there and saw it. And so I'm like, well, duh. It's my drink.
Yeah.
I invented it.
There was never any doubt in my mind.
It's like, it wasn't a big thing.
I'm not sure if you know this, but congratulations.
Yeah.
You are the inventor of the
It was the work of 5 minutes when I was 25 years old. I didn't have any big egotistical thing behind it, but it is my drink. Yeah.
I think, it's a drink that I had to be invented eventually. Maybe not with Absolute Citron, but it's in that Daisy family, right? You've got Sidecar, White Lady, a margarita.
Yeah, it's just a very simple vodka sour.
Exactly.
With some tint to it.
With the Cointreau or triple sec instead of sugar.
Right.
So, and the world was waiting for a vodka version of that.
Sure.
I think probably all the better for having Absolute Citron rather than a standard vodka. But the thing that always gets me about the Cosmopolitan, which, by the way, if made well, I think is a fantastic drink, no question, is that it's not what you think it is. It's a citrus drink. In fact, it's like the ultimate citrus drink.
Yeah.
It's like the end boss of citrus drinks because it's the only drink I can think of where it has something that's lemon, lime, and orange flavored, all in the same drink.
Yeah,
right.
That's a great point. People like Jim Meehan says, "Oh, I always do this with an orange twist," and I know Dale does it with his flamed orange twist and whatnot. And so I see it more often with an orange twist. And I'm like, look, the real one I made with a lemon twist because that's the way it was shown me. I have no problem if you want to use an orange twist. It almost makes more sense in a sense, but there is lemon, there is lime, and there is orange in there. Take your pick. I mean, I wouldn't use a lime twist because it's very bitter, but it's this is always my bugaboo when people are like, oh, I've had Cosmo, blah, blah. I'm like, but have you? Because no one makes it correctly. Like I've put out the specs so many times when I make it, it's exceedingly dry and even rather shrill.
Yeah, like bracingly dry. It needs to be super cold, super dry.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just no reason why it should be sweet. You'd have to either put sugar or grenadine or a shitload of Cointreau in there, right?
Yeah, it can't be cloying because you won't keep coming back to
exactly.
it. And that's my thing. But I've had so many people say, like, sort of charmingly say to me, oh, this is wrong. This is way too sour. I'm like, oh. I'm not going to go into the particulars, but it's de facto not wrong. If you'd like it sweeter, I'm happy to do that for you.
Yeah.
But this is This is dead red.
The other thing that people do is they put too much cranberry juice in there.
Yeah.
Because they want it to be vividly red, and then what you end up with is something is just dilute. Because the cranberry,
It looks like a Negroni.
yeah.
When it looks like a Negroni, you've got it.
yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean the cranberry is not doing a lot of heavy lifting in that cocktail, right?
No.
It's effectively just colorant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what's so good about it, because it's not sweet, it's not excessively berry flavored or whatever. It's just there for color.
And it's barely tinged pink.
Yeah.
It's actually the barest pink.
Yeah.
When I had to put down the spec very carefully for Absolute, finally, I was like, oh, it's a bit of cranberry juice. I always know how much. It has to be just like the right color. And they're like, a bit is not a correct spec. You need to tell us exactly how much. And I was actually surprised by how much cranberries in it. It's an equal measure. I kept using I was like, maybe it's a 1/4 ounce. Oh, I guess it's maybe a 1/2 ounce. Maybe it's 3/4. It's actually a full measure. It's the ratio is 2 to 1 to 1 to 1, which nowadays would be really more like 1.5, 3/4, 3/4, 3/4.
Yeah.
If you're using ounces.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a full measure of cranberry because it's actually it just kind of gets lost in there. It just gives it this barest tinge of pink. But it's a full measure of lime juice, and that's really quite bracing.
Yeah, it is. And then you want it cold as fuck. You want
Yeah.
the glass getting that kind of opacity with the condensation around it, and then drink the bloody thing,
I
right?
used to say, you shake it. How long do you shake it? You shake it until your hands are clinging to the shaker from the condensation, and you have to pull them off
The
stick.
shake becomes a shiver.
It's at least 35 seconds of really powerful shaking.